Well, this talk this morning, it started out a couple weeks ago with, I was reading Dalway's letters, and it was translated by Thomas Kirchner, who was a guest on JJ's program a couple weeks ago. And I was really struck by the freshness of the conversation. It was as if it was happening during one of our retreats. And the letters would be going back and forth between him and the students. And what do I want to say about it? I was really interested in the encounter between the teacher and the student. Dokusan. What is Dokusan? It's one of the fundamental, I guess, methods by which the Chan tradition is founded. And you'll see this in all of the koans, that it's an encounter between, it's often an encounter between the student and a teacher, where the student is asking a question and they're in the experience of suffering in some way. They're either reaching for something, or they're pushing something away, or they're confused, or in some way speaking from that state. And the teacher is responding from the original mind, the awakened mind. And in some koans, awakened mind, which I really love, is held not by an actual teacher, but it might be held in plum blossoms. It might be held in the sound of a crow. And so in every situation that you find yourself in, awakened mind is there. It's always inside you. That's your original nature. And if you're not in contact with it yet, it's always there. And you can feel that sometimes. You'll feel that in Sesshin, where when let's say you're walking to get breakfast, and suddenly the fragrance of the redwoods you've forgotten for a moment to be manufacturing and conjuring your unhappiness or your whatever form it's taking. And so you don't just have part of awakening, you actually have the whole of awakening. It's not like a tiny little crumb. It's actually all of it. And then often we'll just spit it out. You just can't bear it. And then the mind starts in again. So the word Dokusan, it's two characters, and it means alone, going. It's going alone, or to visit, or to converse with, but it's alone. That is one of the most primary aspects of Dokusan. And when you go to Dokusan with a teacher here, even just signing up on the list, there's already a feeling of it's just me. It's the solitary. There's things are in some way stripped away, and it's a direct encounter. And you're opening yourself up to. But there's some risk even just in signing up. You probably already felt this yourselves. So going alone to see the teacher, to meet with the teacher. What do I also want to say about this? So if we're going alone, it also implies that there might be someone coming with you, and like, who might that be? tell some of you had someone come along here. Who might that be? And that you bring your own particular karma to the meeting, and that nothing has gone wrong. You don't need to go in to meet with the teacher or meet with the redwood or meet with your daughter with a clear mind. That awakening is already inside the situation, so you don't need to try to insert it in the situation. But you bring your own flavor and karma of awakening. So yesterday when Tess was talking about the little hello, I'm, and the 5 different possibilities, I actually happened to stumble upon that very piece of paper. It was tucked away in some odd place along the walkway. And I thought, this is absolutely brilliant. You know, they take such good care of us here. And here they are, like putting these strange little hello, I'm, with it blank. And you can imagine the different things that we put in there. So that would be the going with someone. You're going with someone that I'm a someone. I'm a hello, I'm. The other day it was very funny. I was signing up for I was making a reservation at a hotel, and I went down to pay, but it has those red things come up that are so alarming, and they throw you back into another part of the website, and you have to go fill something out before they let you keep going. It always scares me when that happens. So it throws me back, and the thing it wants me to fill out is, it's got a list of suffix of, you can choose, and they give you a list. You can either be Mr., you can be Mrs., you can be Miss, and I looked through the list and there wasn't anything I wanted to be, but I had to choose one, and one of them was doctor. I so longed to have a PhD. I so longed to have a PhD that, and it's just a terrific sense of failure in my life that I didn't finish my master's. And so here was an opportunity. Hello, I'm Dr. Atwill. And it can go the other, so we can use that I'm going with someone important, gain some sense of status in the world. But we can also go the opposite way. Hello, I'm whatever the thing you don't want to be. I'm an academic failure. Everyone in my family has PhDs except me. It can be, it was funny last night when Tess was giving her talk, and your mind will just put something there. Like my mind just put doctor there, but my mind also put fat. Hello, I'm fat. It's so great. No, I don't want that tag. My mind already filled it out. So then it just becomes fun, I didn't need to get rid of that thought. I didn't need to go on a diet and lose 10 pounds and turn it into a project. I didn't need anyone I didn't need to convince anyone that I am fat or I'm not fat. Which, what Tess was mentioning yesterday, as soon as you establish the self, then the whole world is either for or against, is either in support of or a threat to, I'm a doctor. So if I put Dr. Atwill on there, immediately I'm full of fear that people will find out I've just made this up, or I'm full of, there's all kinds of work I have to do to make sure that the rest of the world is going along with my fixed identity. And so there's a kind of vigilance that happens with, and you can feel that in yourselves, that then even the smallest, and you feel that very strongly in Sesshin, where even the smallest threat to the self, like someone that you really want their approbation, then they're walking down the hallway and they're just, who knows what they're thinking about. They're thinking about oatmeal and yogurt or something. And they don't look at you. And you immediately, your mind, without, it's innocent. It immediately, a storm of pain is experienced of, I am unloved, I'm outside the golden circle. I thought this teacher was my friend. It's what I said at Dokusan, and that's why they're not looking at me. They're angry at me. Or, I hate that teacher. They're so cold. They're so rude. They're so unfeeling. They didn't even, we had this wonderful Dokusan, and I was crying, and now they won't even look at me. And they're just cold-hearted. I'm going to a different center. I'm signing up for a different teacher tomorrow. So there's this whole drama that happens. And again, you don't have to stop it from happening because the prajna is in the center of the drama. The drama, the fire, the tearing is the energy of awakening. I mean, it's so amazing that it's true. That it's inside, you don't have to work for it, you simply have the fire, have the tearing, have the longing, have the fear, and let it, you don't know what it's going to do. And then it will, because you don't know what you're doing yet. It's not in your consciousness that has anything to do with you, the pain. And there'll be some kind of wisdom, prajna, inside the pain. Someone came into the Dokusan room the other day, and they came in and they sat down, and they didn't say anything. And their face was kind of in a frozen smile. And so nothing came to me. I just was with them. I was just with them. I was just with them. I didn't know what I was going to say or what was going to happen. And after some time, their face softened and softened. And then they became themselves. It was just this remarkable transformation. And then later on, they came and talked to me about what had happened. And they said, when they came into Dokusan, they only had one thing in their mind, and that they weren't going to speak. They were sure they were not going to speak until they weren't going to speak. That's all they knew. They just weren't going to speak because they were afraid that if they spoke, they would say something false. And so they didn't have to find a true word. That was a true word. And so you don't have to change your state in any situation. You simply have to have your state. And not, I'll just say that. So in one of these encounters in Daiwa's letters, he's working with a student, and there are all these, the literati, there are all these high officials who he's working with, writing these letters to, and they have very, busy lives like we do. And he mentions this one koan, which really stayed with me, and it's very much about, it's a description of the Dokusan with Zhao Zhou. So a student comes in to see Zhao Zhou, and he's just he's very earnest, and reaching for like the right way to do it. And he says, if I come in with nothing, what then? And Jiaozhou says, drop it. And the student is just startled, and so he's trying again, and he says, but I've come with nothing. How can I drop it? And Jiaozhou says, well, then you'll have to carry it with you. And at this, the student had a great awakening. So I think this is, it's just such a beautiful example of that you don't need to change your state. He didn't actually have to drop something. He just had to have, oh, I'm holding something. What does it feel like to hold this idea that I have to have a pure mind in order to be awakened? And then it unbinds itself. I think that's the interesting thing. It unbinds itself. The effort is a couple things to look for, a sense of efforting, trying, explaining yourself is always a clue that you're off track. Or spinning your wheels, I guess I would say. So what is it that we're holding on to, and that we often, when we're in pain, I guess, when we have a hello, I'm so-and-so, whoever the so-and-so is. One of the things to notice is that there'll be a kind of compulsion to establish your view of I'm Dr. So-and-so, or I'm fat. And that it creates a whole universe of for and against. So you're in the world of praise and blame. You're in the world of praise and blame, gain and loss, right and wrong, and everyone is either for or against me. So if you're with your teacher, I had this one student once who every time she came in, every time she would, no matter what I said, it would start out, sort of in a sort of seductive lull of conversation about her meditation, and then she would always bring in how her husband had done her wrong. This was like establishing the view of all the ways he had done her wrong. And so finally I just said, you are not allowed to speak about your husband in Dokusan. You'll notice that your teachers will often kick out the legs of under your problem, or they'll bind you up. It feels like you're being bound up really tightly, or they'll cut the rope and you'll fall, or something like that. They're not going with your story of woe. Or the opposite might happen. They're not going with your story of it's all okay. You might be doing the opposite of your teacher might be turning you towards, well, actually it looks like you're in a lot of pain here. This isn't okay. So whatever is the missing piece, whatever you're trying to establish and keep out, the teacher will ignore that and point you there, the thing you're trying to get rid of and not include. So you'll notice this in yourself, but you also primarily notice this, someone establishing the for or against with your friends or your family. And recently I'd gone to this marvelous French bakery with a number of friends to meet them for coffee. And one of the friends there, so we go up, we order our croissants or lattes or whatever, and she goes up and she orders hers, and then she says to the woman, with this beautiful young woman with a French accent, and she says, well, I noticed I didn't see any gluten-free in your cabinet. And the woman said, well, oui, no gluten-free. And she said, but don't you have any gluten-free? And the woman said, we are a French bakery. Mademoiselle. As if she was going to like an auto shop and asking for a croissant or something. Like it was, why would we have that? And my friend was, you could feel the kind of outrage in her that someone, a bakery, in this day and age, knowing what we know about gluten. Xiaozhou says, drop it. So in Sesshin, you begin to notice what you're carrying, because you start to notice where you're in pain. And also you'll also notice more space. So you'll have that experience too, where someone who's holding a view like that, there'll be a gravitational field around them for people around them to either agree with them, or if you disagree, then you're an enemy. You're somehow, you actually kind of feel like you have to, there's a demand placed on, and you'll notice you're the person making the demand, or you're near the person that's making the demand, and what it feels like if nothing comes up, like you'll notice there'll be a lot of space sometimes. You don't feel a need to be for or against gluten. This is not a battle that has anything to do with you. And you don't know for or against comes up in you. You're just with the whole of the situation. And it all becomes funny, and it becomes warm. You feel warmth towards everyone in this moment of trouble. And that's one of the, one of the blessings of the practice, is you start to feel, that's the 1,000-armed bodhisattva. Hearing the sounds of the world, hearing all the sounds, the person demanding the gluten-free, the person just being French. The Zen teacher noticing all this. It's just the people in line, feeling uncomfortable at the tension in the room. All of this, you hear the sounds, and you're not for or against any of them. You're with them. And then you offer, if there's a possibility of freedom in this situation, it will come from that. It won't come from you explaining to them that they shouldn't be holding this view and you're pointing out how they're making the woman uncomfortable. None of that is going to help, because we've all tried that one. Let's see. So, how am I doing with time? So you'll bring, you'll bring your own karma, your own flavor of trouble. And I want to tell you a couple of stories in the Zen tradition where that moment of, the first one where the world is either for or against you. And what's on hello on. So this is, I'm only going to talk about a small portion of this koan. It's the Deshan where he's the king of the Diamond Sutra. So on his hello, I'm the king of the Diamond Sutra on there. He doesn't even write his name. He just writes, I'm the king of the Diamond Sutra. So he's establishing his whole life, and all his energy is towards feeling important and status, looking for status. And so he hears about, these people in the South who think you can wake up suddenly without any kings of Diamond Sutras, and he is without all the scholarship. So he takes all those commentaries in his cart, and he goes off to set them to right. So you will recognize this part of your own psyche, how you want to set things to right. And it's getting you into the right kind of trouble. So I think not to be afraid of or try to get rid of that part of your mind. Each moment of your life holds its own portion of your awakening. And it's a marvelous and exciting time when you're setting out to set things right. And it's just holds within it its own demise. So he goes out and he goes to get some tea, some refreshments, and he gets defeated in this exchange with the very, very lowest status, a woman, a tea lady, and she's not educated, and she just slices him down. And so that's the first defeat. But he puts himself together. So you'll notice this. You'll put yourself together again. But something has changed fundamentally in him. He has some doubt that he might not be in complete control of his life, and he may not be able to use his usual ways of managing, the universe according to me. There's a breach in it somewhere. And so now he's involved in his fate. You can feel that he's inside his own fate because of that exchange there. And she says, oh, well, there's a Zen teacher up the road. So he goes up the road, and there's a gate, and it's the entrance gate to the temple of the Dragon Pool, the Master Dragon Pool. So Deshan arrives, and he comes to the gate, and he knocks on the gate, but he's already kind of tried to put himself back together because it feels very threatening and exposed to not have I'm a doctor, I'm a king, but you might be going the other way. You might be knocking at the door dressed up as a beggar. I'm poor and destitute. That might be your Halloween costume. But he's sort of put himself together, and someone comes to the door and opens the gate, and Deshan says, so he insults the person that comes to the gate. He says, I've heard the renowned Dragon Pool. So he's insulting the teacher that he's gone to see. But I see here, I see neither dragon nor pool. Right there is this is such an interesting moment. It was like my friend who's trying to establish, there's a rank. There's lower, higher, in, right, wrong, gain, loss. He's trying to put himself back together here. But the teacher says to him, you yourself have arrived. You yourself have arrived at Dragon Pool. There is nothing to establish. You yourself have arrived. I can see all of you have arrived at Dragon Pool. So that the teacher speaks from you're already inside. You're already, you don't need the, and he sees the student. One more story, and then I have one more thing to say. The other one is the this is the sixth ancestor Ming, sixth ancestor Huineng, where he's pursued by the head monk Ming. So this is a long, shaggy dog story, but essentially Huineng has been given the robe and the bowl. So he's been given the ultimate symbols of a recognition of his awakening, and that he's going to hold now. The teacher has passed on the robe and the bowl to him, and he's going to be carrying on the tradition. But things are not safe for him at the monastery because there's a lot of jealousy, and that would never happen in this monastery. So that kind of trouble and the difficulties, the painful longings, or again the fuel for your own awakening. You have to have, it comes from a lived experience. It's never inside your thinking. You cannot think your way into your own sense of experience of your own original self. It's not possible. And it has to mean something to you. So the pain that we feel, or the longing that we feel, is, we wouldn't ever, I guess, it has to mean something to us for us to stay and sit and be with our own lives. And so the jealousy and the pain and the longing and all of that is part of the, it's real. It has to be something real to you. So this monk, who's very upset about this, the robe and bowl, he goes running after Huineng, and Huineng hears him coming, and I don't know what he was thinking at the time. He was thinking, I don't know, I'm Huineng. I think, oh, not this. And so he just places the robe and the bowl on a rock. And he says, you can have them. This is such an interesting moment because there's so much pain around thinking that if I just get this, whatever that might be for you. Some people, it's literally, if you would just make me a teacher, then I would be happy. Or then I would, I'm not sure what they would think. then I would get what I need or deserve. Or it might be, if only, I used to think that if I only, for me, it was like if there was a wedding ring on the rock, you know, only and I would see the women in yoga class and they'd have the wedding rings. I'd just look at their hands and see. I didn't care what the posture was right or not. It's my version of Iyengars. Look at that. But I can tell you it doesn't help. Awakening is not related to being married or not married. So he thinks whatever you think is on there that you need to get, and he just lets him have it. He says, you can have this. And he goes to grab it, and he's unable to pull it up. So that's also such a beautiful moment. That your life itself is not gonna, it doesn't matter if you get it, if you got the Rogan ball or didn't get the Rogan ball, it doesn't matter. It's the this we're looking for. We're looking for the thing we already have. It's not out there. As many times as your teacher tells you that, you have to know it for yourself. And we know it for ourselves by sometimes getting the thing. And it just turns to ash in our hands. And then we see, oh, it's not that. And so he says, Ming, starts, it's moving and he can't get it. And he says, and then he has the experience of having it and not having it fully, both. And it just turns him upside down, and he awakens, and he says, he's shivering and crying and laughing, and he says, I came for the dharma, not for the road. I beg you, lay brother, please open the way for me. And the teacher says, don't think good and don't think evil. At this very moment, what's the original face of Ming, the head monk? What is your original face? And he's crying and laughing. He has great satori. But right after that, so this is a point, that's a fun point, but I'm coming to this more fun point, which is right after that, Ming says, besides these secret words and secret meanings, is there anything further of significance? I just love that. That's so much fun to see how we immediately put back on the tag. I'm Ming who does not have awakening. I'm Ming looking for the secret teachings. And so that joining with Dokusan, going alone to the meeting, to meet the master, whether the master is peach blossoms or the morning star or someone who's enraged with you and suddenly you're with them, but you're not taking on the anger. And I've read this wonderful review of I think it's in the London Review of Books. There's a psychiatrist in Italy, and he practices in Genoa. And he's been practicing for many, many years at a psychiatric hospital. So he's working with truly crazy people. And he writes a book called The Art of Binding People, describing his experiences. But he's writing not in the usual psychoanalytic clinical way. He's writing as if he's writing in a poetic, mythic, koan-like way about the experiences. And so these different kinds of crazy people he's working with. Some of them, who get manic and they escape. And a couple of them, he talks about a couple of them who escaped, and they, of course, they're fairly close to Rome, so immediately it's like homing pigeons. They go to see the Pope. They're euphoric, and they go to see the Pope, and he says they want to give the pontiff some good advice. And so one of them gets a Ferrari, and he drives the distance in like less than 3 hours. And so the patient says, God had a hand in it, how quickly he got there to give the good advice. So this last encounter that he writes about, I find incredibly touching, where someone else escapes. And it's this patient called Piero. And Piero's in his pajamas and bare feet because it's in the middle of the night that he's escaped. And so the psychiatrist, Malone, goes running after him. And this is what happens. He's running, the patient Piero has escaped in his pajamas and bare feet, and Malone is running in a white coat and clogs. The odds, however, are good. Piero is sluggish with sedatives. He is an involuntary hospitalization. And whether the psychiatrist fears that Malone will commit suicide or murder, if the patient gets away, is left unsaid. But they're heading downhill toward the sea. And Malone says, we pass the shutters of the best gelateria in the city and find each other again in Piazza dei Ferrari. Not a soul to be seen, it's all ours. You do a lap of the fountain and me behind. You stop, wheezing, leaning against the railing. I reach you and stand beside you, also wheezing. For a moment, each of us thinks only of breathing. Then I suggest, sighing, we could run away to Corsica. What do you say? So I think that's to say that the response will come from the situation, that you won't need to plan it ahead of time. You won't need to script what you're going to say. That it's the entering wholly your situation and listening to the sounds of the world. Then it will tell you. Your children will tell you, your husband will tell you, the situation will tell you what is needed. And it won't be your good intentions, it won't be it won't be a part of the establishing who I am, what I am. And it will surprise you. I imagine the psychiatrist was surprised when he suggested going to Corsica with the patient. And then your life has a kind of lively joy. that spreads out in all directions. I'll read one poem and I'll finish with this poem. What was said to the rose. What was said to the rose to make it open was said to me here in my chest. What was told the redwoods that made them strong and straight. What was whispered the jasmine, so it is what it is. Whatever made sugarcane sweet. Whatever was said to the inhabitants of the town of Shigil in Turkestan that makes them so handsome. Whatever lets the pomegranate flower blush like a human face. That is being said to me now, I blush. Whatever put eloquence in language, that's happening here. The great warehouse doors open, I fill with gratitude, chewing a piece of sugarcane, in love with the one to whom every that belongs. Thank you very much.